So I wanted to do a further demonstration on our JDE digital workforce platform, and that's with creating custom agents and custom agent functionality. So I think you've seen that we're able to create a fairly intuitive interface, and we're able to create various experts based upon training, and you can upload your custom documentation to train out the model even further. So you'll see if we go back a screen here, we can go down here and you're able to find particular documents that you want to upload, and they could be your standard operating procedures, any help manuals that define processes within your businesses, and then that will be used to set context around the prompting that we do to give a more rich feedback to your end users that are using the platform. Remember that all of these tiles are completely configurable, so if we were to go and look at particular examples that we've set up previously, and you could define any tiles that you want. So you could have a plant and equipment, cold chain inventory. Your tiles are your responsibility, and then you can actually define which documents are loaded again, ragged up for this particular agent. So you can really train your agent specifically on our platform, and then you can give it buttons, and they're completely customizable. So you could change these buttons on a daily basis. You could share these buttons around, but it allows you to define an exact prompt that makes sense and will repeatedly give the right answers back to your user base when they use your prompts. But then it encourages them when they actually chat to the particular interface that you've got your buttons down the left hand side there, but then they can also ask any ad hoc queries that they want. So we can create a really customized view which is trained on your processes, trained on your specific documentation. Even your pricing can be uploaded, although of course it can extract the pricing from the JDE Edwards tables as well, but it gives you the ability to really customize your environment for your end users. Now this wasn't my demo, so I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to talk about our custom agent builder. So when we talk about AI, I think there's a difference between assistants and agents. And what I'm going to show you now is, I guess it's assistant or agent. So if for example, I created a goods receipting agent, so that had the ability to receipt goods at your warehouses. So when a truck arrives, a document could be scanned and it could automatically go to an agent. So an agent is autonomous, and that agent will scan the delivery document. It will determine if there's an open purchase order. It will query the supplier details. It can make sure it can that the line item is at a status that can be receipted. It'll receipt the good. It'll call an orchestration to receipt the goods and save the delivery document against the open purchase order. And then it'll do partial receipting and all the complexity that you find in your warehouses. All of that can be done with what we've defined here. So we can create agents to perform all of those tasks. So for example, this particular agent, the goods receipt delivery docket agent, if we just scroll through our agent creator here, we can, so it's part of the procurement module next, and then we can see it's got a short description, it's got a detailed purpose, and it's got an ROI tracker. So I can say, hey, if this runs successfully, that saves $30, and that's $30 based upon manual processing. So I'm able to attribute a financial a metric to the successful running of this agent, and you're going to see that tokens don't stop costing money. So being able to assign the actual dollars that you save on a successful execution of this agent allows us to chart the success of our AI adoption. We can see then we define any of the JDE Edwards tables that the agent might have something to do with, any orchestrations that it calls, any JDE Edwards reports that it calls, and we can call any of this functionality we want. And now we get into defining the logical steps. So we can see all the logic that goes in, and so apply quantity validation logic, query the 4101 to see the item setup field so that the item being receipted exists, etc., etc., etc. So we've defined all of these steps that the agent is going to perform against JDE Edwards using all the JDE Edwards orchestrations, using all the JDE Edwards data. And then you can test this agent in our testing interface here. So if we had a purchase order, if we had a delivery docket that we wanted to run against this, and I'm going to show you that in in the next video, we can just grab that document here, upload it and say run your test, and we could put anything through this, and then it will execute all of these 21 logical steps that we've defined. Now, here's the really special thing. What I wanted to talk about today is how do we create, like you can manually create all these steps in this document, but I don't recommend that. You know what I recommend? I recommend that you should have a conversation about an agent that you want to create in JD Edwards. I think you should record that conversation and generate a transcript. And then from that transcript, I'd use AI to create a functional specification for my agent, be as deterministic as possible in terms of labeling files and fields and orchestrations that need to be called to perform the task that it needs to do. And so I'm going to show you an example of a document like this that we put together for a different customer, and then I'm going to show you how we can import that into our platform to understand exactly how we can automatically generate a new agent definition. So if we come down to here, I can say create from design document, and what I'm going to do is choose a design document here, and it's the receipt specification. So this document has a bunch of information of how to do receipting in JD Edwards, and we created that exactly as I stated from a transcript of a meeting. So we talked about what we wanted the agent to do, we talked about the tables and the files. We didn't give it all of the details, but I was in the room with some procurement experts, so they certainly had enough knowledge about the process. And then we augmented that with just ChatGPT or OpenAI or Copilot, no matter which. It has already got a good understanding of JD Edwards tables and JD Edwards fields, etc. Of course, it doesn't know about any custom orchestrations on your side, and that's where your articulation really helps the definition of the functional spec. But remember, this is a one-off, so this does take a little bit of time to run, but this particular process, we are reverse engineering an agent definition on our digital platform from your functional spec. So basically we're coding your functional spec into an agent now by reading the document that defines the agent. It's pretty amazing. And so AI has ripped apart that design document. It's found all these tables exist in it. It's found an orchestration that needs to be called. And let's continue with the refinement. And now AI has looked at my functional spec, and now it's going to ask me a whole heap of additional clarification questions. It's identified gaps in my spec, and for it to do an effective job in JD Edwards, it's trying to get me to answer a whole bunch of different questions here, or additional questions, so it can do a better job. Now I'm not going to do anything about that. I just want to show you that piece of functionality next, and then we can import that definition into our wizard. And once we import it into our wizard, then we're able to do further refinement on the steps. So now we can scroll through our wizard here. This is the new one, so this is new. And then we can scroll to next, and we can see it's got the same got the same files and tables as last time. And AI has generated all of these rules from our functional spec. So it says here, monitor and capture delivery docket from email. So we'll say that's process the inbound context. We can see what it's doing there. Classify the document as a delivery document. So again, it's looking at the inbound context. And what we're saying is apply OCR and document clarification to determine if the document is a delivery document. So you see how we're programming with natural language. But it's incredible that all these, how many rules got defined here? So 24, 25, 26 different, 27, 31 rules were extracted from that document. And so I could show you this design document here. No, I can't. I don't know why. But you can see that it's extracted all of those rules from what is a functional spec and created our agent definition. Now we can save that agent. We can go ahead and test it in the platform here, or when we get to the end of our wizard, we can actually we can go next, and then we can look at the Claude definition. Oh, we've got to save it first, save the agent. And now we can look at the Claude definition. And so if we just wanted to create an autonomous Claude agent, of course you need our MCP servers for this to be functional, but you've just defined a really complicated autonomous agent that you could put into a Claude project and have it scan email boxes, have it scan shared drives, and act on your behalf to automate processes in JD Edwards.